What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Filip, Latocha, and today is not really a shoe review kind of day, more of a heart-to-heart of the last 3 to 4 months of life and how certain things impacted my running schedule, training, and all sorts of that stuff. How overcoming it now has opened the floodgates for lots of cool stuff to come in the future. And I'm going to discuss some of those things kind of coming up. So this is going to be kind of a story time episode. So if you're down for just like listening to a fun story, the lack of my soothing voice, then by all means stick around and listen to this. And maybe you'll find some inspiration in your daily life for this. So before we get into it, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're already subscribed, watching content. Thanks so much. Love you guys a lot. Make sure you follow me on Instagram and Strava for all sorts of updates that are going to be coming up real soon. Just saying, as we get into the story mode kind of thing, you'll see. So without further ado, I guess let's get into it. So I guess I do have a blank whiteboard just to kind of list out sort of what's happening here and there. But I guess we're going to start at the very beginning of this particular quarter of the episode, which is like post-Chicago Marathon, right? So 2022 Chicago Marathon, awesome way to end the running season, in my opinion, with, some like side quest races, I guess you can say, like a turkey trot, the Polish Independence Day 10K. All of that was kind of in the mix, but the main focus at this point in the season isn't even running or fitness related. Rather, it's, for the first time in a little bit of a while, it's professional development work related. So I think most of you already know I do work as a cybersecurity analyst for a major airline. You guys can probably find me on LinkedIn and figure out all this information, yada yada. The point here is that as part of one of my work goals, it was to get certified under a specific branch of certification, which was in this case CompTIA, and I was aiming for the CYSA Plus exam, which I guess for the experts in the field, it's not an entry-level cert. It's by a known, I guess, certification label. Most people kind of dismiss CompTIA in some cases, depending on what you get. If you're like working for something like an A+, which in this case would be more like physical hardware understanding, something like a Network Plus, certifications more towards like those niche tiers, those are considered like your entry-level certs, right? But what also happens is now you've got some intermediate certs, which for cybersecurity analysts would be like called the Security Plus, which I'll kind of dive into that one a little bit later. But then we have the more advanced, not necessarily like top-notch CompTIA certs, but we have like the advanced cert, and the CYSA is in that label, and that CYSA stands for Cybersecurity Analyst Plus. And my goal for the end of the year of 2022 is to get this certification. And actually, I was requested by my former senior manager back in 2020 to get this certification as well. And then, the world kind of went crazy during the whole COVID stuff, and there's department shifts, people left. A lot of people were wondering if they were going to have work after all of this, and work focus has also shifted too. So certification and professional development kind of got pushed to the side. And now fast forward to 2-3 years later, all of that has kind of changed. We're more or less back on track in, the airline industry, and more or less. So that's kind of the summary of items there. The point there now is after the Chicago Marathon, I made a mental commitment to focusing on studying for the certification. And I purchased whatever materials I needed. I found some free online materials, and it all gets expensed by the company, just get it done is the goal, right? But the challenge here is that I haven't studied for something in almost 5 years, because I graduated from, I got my master's degree in 2018, and I haven't studied for anything since, right? I've been just on the grind working from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Almost every single day of my life from that point forward until I got into the cybersecurity field. Then your hours kind of change and all this other stuff, lifestyle. But the point is, I don't have the gears going for a study progress, So I think a lot of adults probably also understand this too. Once you're out of school, never stop learning, obviously. So always study something. Just keep the gears and keep that, I guess, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like exercising every single day, right? What you want to do at that point is you want to keep that same energy of being able to study something for 30 minutes to an hour every single day, or if you have plenty of time, like I kind of did at some point in this story, you'll have like 3 to 4 hours a day of studying and whatnot. And one of the troubles that also comes with studying versus like a work product is that your work product is usually something tangible, and you can usually see when it's like complete, right? And that's also something I've kind of struggled with during my studies as well, where you would oftentimes during your study window get into a work habit, and you would be like, oh, okay, cool, I'm going to start working on this report, I'm going to close out these incidents, and you get through all this process, and like because that result looks visually more tangible than studying, you don't study as much. And if you're studying for like 30 minutes to an hour, you're not sure if your input into that study is going to provide you a positive output when it comes time to like taking this test. So in a way, you almost begin to create like this procrastination window, and also this, I guess, false sense of maybe anxiety of like, is this studying really actually worth it? Like, and you kind of get where I'm going with this. I can't really like phrase it exactly right now, but the point was there was a period of time where I got severely demoralized in my studying, where I like cut the studying down to like almost 10 minutes a day, which was quite bad. It was like maybe in November when this happened, and I needed some kind of way to jumpstart this and get back into it. And like I was taking practice exams, I wasn't doing well at all on some of those exams because I thought I had known a little bit better, and I like really didn't. And what's happening at the same time is some of my coworkers are also getting their certifications, and they're picking up some of those entry-level certs, but they're picking up like a lot of them at the same time, right? So like one week they'll get this like entry-level cert, then they'll get one from like Amazon Web Services, AWS. They might get something from like the GIAC certification branch, and like they're racking them up, and I've got nothing because I'm like focused on this one like advanced cert in my life. And that, in a way, started really causing a lot of other issues. And this is where we bring it all back into running, right? Where I've put myself in an off-season mode for the first time in a while, where I would only run about 25 to 30 miles a week, maximum like 35. And what happened out of that was 6 weeks of just running 30 miles a week, which to me didn't seem like a lot. And as a result, my running fitness slightly diminished. I gained a bit of weight over time, part of it being muscle because I was still like lifting daily, and part of it maybe from like bad diet and whatnot, so I guess I gained some fat, I guess you can say. And ultimately just the lifestyle balance was not good, of like having this constant test and like study mindset of, if I go on a run, for example, I'm like, I'm going to go run 7 miles today, because like the average run length for me would be like 7 to 8 miles a day. I would stop at like 4 miles and my brain would go, hey, you should probably go home and it's time to study. And then you get home and you're not really in the mood to study because you're thinking that this output, or that your input into the study, is not going to be as tangible as an output versus like running 7 miles, which you can like understand, like, hey, I did 7 miles. There it is on Strava. Like, I put distance this week. There it is. So it becomes a challenge in a sort of way, but that's something you have to mentally overcome, that like you have to trust that process, that the time you put in to your study is going to give you a tangible output eventually. But what you have to do is be able to start showing yourself, I guess, progress, that the study is showcasing some kind of output. So I'll give you guys like the prime example here with the CYSA Plus. With the practice materials that I had after I would take an exam, like, so I'll lay this out for you, right? For those who may not know a lot of cybersecurity and whatnot for like the CompTIA field, what they do is they have 3 like performance-based questions, and then they have like about 88 to 90 questions related to multiple choice answers, where there could be multiple correct answers on some of them. And the point is like you have to find the most correct answer in some instances. And like I'm going to be very vague with some of this because I know CompTIA likes to protect their test material to the highest regard. So if they like hear me say something weird in this video, they might request a takedown. I'm not 100% sure, but like that's kind of the point. And like the performance questions are more like they give you some kind of scenario, and they give you maybe a tool, or you have like some knowledge base, or you have like a story written out with like some preconditions, and you have to solve the problem according to that. So you have to essentially be able to, well, the point there is like, yeah, you have to be able to be prepared to do all of that in about 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours, 45 minutes. But in my particular case, the only way I could understand if I was getting my study material done with a tangible output was if I can continue taking the practice exam, but getting better at it and also being able to finish it faster. Now, the second piece of that was just more of like a self-gratifying thing where I can like look at the exam, find keywords, select the answer, and be able to get it right. Getting a score where the CompTIA, tool was saying I was, quote, probably ready for the exam was good enough for me. So like obviously from the graph, it's like a linear output that like the more times I do the exam and the more time I like see these questions and see keywords and things like that, the better the exam got over time. So it was just a case of like memorizing a lot of definitions, understanding best case responses for given scenarios and things like that, and understanding definitions and acronyms I may have not understood. So let's utilize the whiteboard at this point. So, as many of you may have guessed or have known because I talked about it, the plans for, I guess, this particular year, and especially actually this time of the year, was this, right? So, we had the hot chocolate 15K in Houston, right? That was the race that was supposed to be just this past weekend, right? That was going to be something we were going to be going into. We also have, coming up this weekend, at the time of the filming of this video, we have the Arizona Half Marathon, right? And the problem here was because the certification took so long to get, I didn't actually have the appropriate amount of time to train for a half marathon. And I also could not go to the Houston 15K because I did this exam exactly 48 hours ago, right? And I used that entire weekend of Hot Chocolate Houston weekend to study for this exam. So here's the CYSA plus. Basically everything I wanted to do in my life. So life things. And let's put vacations up here. Vacations. All of it led to this, right? I could not do anything outside of my life until that was done, okay? I might even rotate the camera here just a little bit so you guys see. There's nothing I can do in my life, racing, training, life stuff. I couldn't even go on a family vacation because I had to focus on getting this done. So basically, it creates like almost this like weird work-life balance, misbalance, I guess you can say, right? Where now you're focusing so much on work and studying after hours that getting all these other things you want in your life, like keeping your fitness shape in check, doing stuff like going on a cool vacation, seeing a new place, taking advantage of my free flights at work, all these kinds of things, you can't do any of them because you're so focused on actually just getting the work done. So I learned a valuable lesson out of this particular experience of like, take more advantages or take advantage of any sort of like small windows of opportunity to go travel and whatnot. But anyways, the question you might probably be asking here, some of you may have seen this on LinkedIn or whatnot, is like, what happened with this exam? Well, basically, I did actually end up passing, and it was like probably the greatest sigh of relief that Monday night to be able to pass this exam. And like, I passed with a pretty decent score overall. The exam was quite difficult, but not for me. And the point was that, I got it done. I'm back on track with my, work professional development. And, I'm very happy about it. Now I've got kind of like this, I guess the only way I can describe it is like what people in the military experience when they like come back home from deployment, right? Is like you have this anxiety of like, what's next? What's next? What's next? So basically at some point, like there's no deadline on this, but like at some point in my life, we're going to have like this AWS. So I'm going to do some Amazon Web Services, like, security cloud practitioner stuff, or certified cloud practitioner in this particular case. Just get some cloud certs, get some nice ones that are like nice and easy down the line. Maybe at some point I'll also get a SANS cert. This I think is going to be required at some point. It's called the SANS 508 course. It's basically on incident response and forensics analysis. And that, my company is going to pay for, send me to Orlando, Florida, I think, in April to get that done. So I have like plenty of time in the meantime to get work items done, to get some travel done, get back into like race shape, and start kind of like really grinding it out, because everything I ever wanted to do had to funnel through this first. This was like priority number one in my life. And now that it's done and over with, I can resume my regular, marathon training, my half marathon training, go on some vacations and whatnot. And yeah, that's just kind of the big lessons learned is like, once you get the gears going in a study regiment, like, don't lose it. Because once you lose it, it's very hard to spin it up again. Like, again, it took me 4 months to study for exam, which on average would take somebody who's like well-conditioned in the field and has like a study habit regiment kind of set. It would take them like maybe 2 to 3 weeks. But for me, it took 4 months to, on and off, to get this exam sorted out. So that's kind of the story there of, how work kind of affected some of my life stuff, and like, again, why I didn't end up going to the Houston Hot Chocolate, which I really wanted to go to. I had to drop it because of this, I'm not in shape for the Arizona Half Marathon. Could I finish the race in a good time? Probably not. I could finish the race though, in the shape I'm, in. Like, it's not going to be impossible, but I would rather race and do well than race and just kind of have fun, like the only race I think I might have fun with is probably like a mud run, because those you sometimes have to end up waiting for people to get through obstacles and whatnot. Tangent to the point. But anyways, let's kind of talk about some of the future things coming up now. So actually we can erase this one because this is going to have an interesting kind of story with it. But next race I'm kind of eyeing, well, there's a few races in March that I'm going to have. There is a half marathon in my local neighborhood. I think it's called Cary Half. That's kind of like one of my local races. It might be the end of March, and then that leads into the Shamrock Shuffle. Everyone knows that one. In the Chicago Shamrock Shuffle, that's like a week apart from one another. I think it's like the 19th. That might be the 26th. And then that's the end of March. I'm missing something here. Oh, yeah, and then this leads to the next week after that. It's the Cooper Bridge 10K. So I talked about this race last year. It's in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a 10K race within the city. It uses the bridge as like part of the race course and whatnot. And like my coach lives out in South Carolina, so we're going to try to hang out. We're going to do the race together. And basically after that, we go back into some training related to work. So like, there we go. From Charleston, South Carolina, I end up going to Orlando, Florida for, some training and whatnot. So that's going to be an interesting, I guess, next couple of weeks. But in the meantime, I have to sort out some vacation stuff. I have to put my like bucket list of things I want to do in the meantime from now until, I guess March time, when like race time kind of kicks in. One of those things, of course, is going to be get back into half marathon shape. Try to go skiing finally for like after a year of not going skiing. Go on vacation. Take a few vacations. Like, come on. Like, I gotta be more spontaneous with this kind of stuff. And yeah, lots of life stuff kind of going on there. But yeah, I do want to do some more shoe reviews. I've got some new product I want to review. I do have a pair of Alpha Fly 2s that I finally exchanged that I kind of want to showcase beforehand. And yeah, I've got some other cool things happening as well on the side with people messaging me on Instagram. So I might have some shoes coming in for some reviews. So we'll see how that kind of also goes. But yeah, this is not really a massive, I guess, running update kind of thing. It's more of like a life update and just kind of showcasing why some of the races I promised I was going to do and kind of like deliver some content on didn't quite end up happening. And like, again, I apologize for that. It just... work sometimes gets quite rough, and like as somebody who's salaried for the first time in his life, like this is I'm understanding why a lot of people will say things like, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that because of work, and it's like, yeah, I get it now. So you gotta just really, if you want it, you gotta be like a psycho. You gotta really grab it if you want to be able to do everything at once. If you want to go on vacation, if you want to do this work stuff, if you want to get certifications and study done, and you want to race to like at a semi-elite level for these sorts of events, you gotta be ready for it, basically. So you gotta be psychotic enough to do all of it at the same time, and then you gotta have the time to do it as well. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end the video here though. So thanks for watching all 20 minutes of this ridiculous update and like fun story about life successes and things like that. So if you're in the cybersecurity field, here's a good one. If you guys want some tips and tricks on how to pass the CYSA Plus, or you have like cybersecurity questions, let me know. I'm going to see if I can make some videos, maybe on this channel or a different channel, related to those topics, in terms of like, you know, certs, career advice. I can technically provide it considering that I am a professional in the cybersecurity world. So yeah, I'm going to leave the video here. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.